Hey everybody, welcome back to Game Time with John Eads. We are right in the thick of the end of baseball season, really. There's only a select few of programs still competing for the national championship, and of course, LSU is one of those. The Tigers making their way to Omaha on Wednesday, getting ready for a Saturday matchup with Arkansas to kick things off in the College World Series. As always, I'm your host, John Eads, and we have a former LSU national champion and catcher. You recognize the face, you'll recognize the name. Alex Milazzo in to chat with us today. Alex, I appreciate you stopping by. This is a super fun time of year, right? I mean, not everybody gets the experience of going to Omaha. It's happened 20 times in the last 4 decades, though, for LSU, setting the standard in college baseball. And it looks like the Tigers have a great opportunity to take another national championship here.
Yeah, I think this is the best time of year. This is what everybody prepares for, and this is what you train for. And this is what makes all those long days in the fall and early spring worth it. You know, you go through the early fall, you go through, I guess you could say, fall ball, and then you go through winter break, and then early spring, and then kind of run through a gauntlet of a season. I think it's, 58 games. Plus,
thereabouts.
Yeah, SEC tournament, and then you have Omaha, and it seems like something that's so far away, but once you get in the season, and it almost flies by, it really does. And then once you get in Omaha, it's definitely makes it all worth it. So this, in my opinion, this is the best time of year, and I don't think there's another sport outside of football that can match this. Maybe March Madness, but Omaha is truly special.
It's unique because you get some good parity sometimes, especially this year. You know, it's not the typical 4 SEC, 6 SEC, 2 ACC, 4 ACC kind of thing. I mean, we got a lot of different teams making it this year. Only a couple national seeds. I think LSU, Arkansas are those. Oregon State, I think, is another, but not a lot of national seeds in Omaha. It's a lot of unfamiliar programs.
I was actually kind of shocked with the amount of SEC teams that got into it. I think it was 13 this year, which was the most, I think, out of all other years. And I was honestly a little shocked that only 2 SEC teams got in. And it's, I think it's pretty cool that we're matched up, but I'd have liked to see Arkansas on the other side of the bracket. But an SEC matchup, first game in Omaha, I think that's it'd be a packed house. Mm-hmm. So I think Omaha is like the Alex box of the North, I guess you could say.
Northwest.
Yeah. And I know when we were there, I was pretty shocked of how many fans were actually there that were LSU. It seemed like even in the national championship game against Florida, the stadium was full of purple and gold. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had a moment to step back in that national championship game and really take everything in, and I was just blown away by the amount of purple and gold fans that were there. It was truly awesome. But at the same time, I think it's pretty cool this year and unique in the NIL situation, which kind of levels the playing grounds for some programs. But at the same time, you're starting to see those smaller schools get in, which is, you kind of hear about those Cinderella stories like the Coastal Carolina back in the day and all that, and Stony Brook, and which makes this College World Series really unique.
When we talk about college sports, I feel like football is headed more towards the NFL, and it's kind of losing that old school tradition and purity. But I have always thought that baseball is still pretty pure, in a collegiate landscape, just with NIL and stuff. I mean, there's some of that. You experience some of that. You see that. But on the other hand, you're also not getting a 12-team playoff that's full of blue blood football programs, and others that are just completely not relevant. You got Murray State in this. You got who else is in this field? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Coastal's in there. Yep.
Louisville.
It's just anybody. It seems like, especially now, as football is getting more towards not college sports, baseball just continues to stay what it's been for years.
That's part of what's so unique about baseball is it's not about the best team. You don't what you had Nick Saban in college football for a long time. It's so hard to do in baseball because it's not about the best team on the field. It's about the team that plays the best that day. And I'm sure you've heard Coach Johnson say that a bunch, and he really harped on that. But honestly, it's about the team that shows up every day and the team that's most prepared that day and that's mentally locked in that day. That's what makes baseball is so unique is the small schools that you saw the upsets this year. But not only that, you also had a school this year, LSUS, that went,
right.
I don't know, 58-0, 59-0 or something. That's unheard of. And that speaks to how locked in those guys were and how bought in they were into what their coach was doing and what their program was doing and how they're trending. So that's part of what makes college baseball so unique.
Mm-hmm. There's talent everywhere in any corner, any pocket of the state. So that's why it'd be fun to see all these different programs clashing with their different styles and whatnot. And it's not just Georgia and Ohio State and Clemson, like some of those football powers that you see every year. It's different, so it'd be exciting. But, I mean, it's no secret. You mentioned it's difficult to sustain winning like Saban did in football, but LSU, out of 40 years, 20 times they're going to Omaha. There's obviously a recipe and a standard for getting there, and Jay Johnson specifically is now going to go for the second time. So what do you think he does year in, year out that allows this success since he's taken over? Because you experienced that for a couple years.
Yeah, I think the first and foremost is the preparation that the coaching staff puts in. I don't think there's another coaching staff in the country that works as hard as they do. But not only that, Coach Johnson has surrounded himself with like-minded people in the coaching office and guys that work just as hard as he does, and also guys that are able to coach different aspects of the game. And I think something that's super important that not a lot of people talk about is the mental side of the game and the mental preparation that we put in. And it starts way back in the fall. We have all kinds of people that come in outside of the normal coaching staff that has been working with Coach Johnson forever, that comes in and talks about the mental side of the game, which I think is so important. And then there's also a big emphasis on the unity and almost playing as a pack, mm-hmm. and having like-minded people, getting the right people on the bus, in the locker room, and all that stuff. So he just does a great job of having everybody bought into the program and the needs of the team. And that's something we always talked about, and I'm sure everybody's heard Coach talk about this, is placing the needs of the team above your own. And I think that's something that's super important and almost something you don't see in college baseball or just college sports in general or sports these days, is the unselfishness. You see, especially in the NIL world, people wanting to play for money and all that, which I get it. It's part of the game. But at the same time, the letters across the chest have to mean more than the name on the back.
And
I think that's something that's super important. But not only that, that's why LSU's had success. That's why Arkansas is having success, and the Coastal Carolina and schools that are in it, is the unselfishness, and they're bought in.
It's hard. You don't see it a lot. I mean, even think of this year's team. Ethan Fry could be a starter at a lot of places. Ashton Larson would be a starter at a lot of places. Then you've got guys like Dalton Beck, who's a senior on this team, that for his final year of eligibility probably could have been a starter or a DH at a lot of other places, but he's on LSU's bench, and he'll get an occasional AB and sometimes do something with it. But it just seems like everybody kind of understands their role, and it's kind of a throwback team. Like, this is one of Skip's teams in the 90s that would win a national championship, where you have a good collection of talent that kind of puts the ego aside and contributes more towards the common goal.
Yeah, and I see a lot of similarities between this team this year and the 2023 team, where you can win it on the mound and defensively, but you can also out-hit guys. And whether it's a 12 to 10 ball game, you can win that game, or if it's a 1-0 ball game, you can win that one as well. I think that's super important in Omaha. Little bit different stadium. Wind could be blowing in, wind could be blowing out. So you're going to have those matchups, especially with teams down the road. The pitching gets better and better, and the margin of error gets a little bit smaller, mm-hmm. When you're playing highly competitive teams. And this is just my opinion. I think the teams that play defense and pitch the best are going to win in Omaha. But also at the same time, you need to be able to come in clutch with the two-out double or 2-out RBI, and that's what we were able to do when we were there. But at the same time, you talked about like an Ethan Fry being a 3-year guy, didn't get much playing time his first 2 years, and stayed there and continue to develop. And I think that speaks to just LSU. So many guys are so passionate about playing for the purple and gold. And where I don't think that's as common at some schools around the country, and just the national attention LSU gets. Like when we travel to Houston, the stadium's packed out. When you travel to Omaha, we're talking about this, the stadium's packed out. So I do think there is this buy-in, and in a world like today that college baseball's in, where you can transfer. I think you get unlimited transfers. Maybe
I don't even know what the rules are anymore.
I'm not sure either. I never looked into them because I was so bought into
Right.
what LSU was doing. And at the same time, you're not recruiting guys, and you don't want guys on your team that are all right sitting the bench. And I think that's why so many guys are transferring. Like, you're not going to go recruit guys that are all right not playing. You want guys that are competitive and want to win and want to be great. But at the same time, that's something Coach does such a great job of, is keeping guys in the program, and they're bought in, and they understand they might not get playing time right away, but they're ready for the opportunity, and they continue to develop. And when they do get that opportunity, they embrace the moment and they come through, and then you see them get in the lineup. And guys like Ethan Fry, who've been around some great DHs, guys like Cade Beloso, I think Jared Jones was in that spot, and I'd go down the list, but he's passionate about LSU. And another guy, Josh Pearson, passionate about LSU. So that's what it takes to win.
You hear a lot about that, like Louisiana guys on the roster, they grow up here, so they care about LSU, but you really just don't see that other places. I feel like because LSU is the program in Louisiana, right? And you could argue the program in the South from a baseball standpoint. So I know the players say it that are on the roster currently, but former players say it too, and it's not just word salad, right? I mean, there's truly meaning to those three letters in the colors.
And I think that's something that's so important, is not only are the Louisiana guys super passionate about playing LSU because you grew up with it in your backyard, but the national attention that LSU gets from West Coast to East Coast all the way to up north, I think that's why even the guys that you get out of state are passionate about LSU, because they grow up watching LSU. And LSU's always playing on TV, and they see it. They see the crowds. They see the atmosphere that we play in, and everybody wants to be a part of that. And I think that's why we're able to get guys that are passionate about LSU, even though they're not from Louisiana.
Yeah, no, they've brought in some guys this year, like Daniel Dickinson's from Washington, I want to say, their second baseman, and played at Utah Valley. No connection to Louisiana. I'm pretty sure he told us that when we interviewed him. And here he is now. He loves this place, and he's really embraced it, and the fans have embraced him, and that kind of happens every year. Gage Jump was a West Coast guy. Chase Shores from Texas, a little bit closer. Jaden Newt's from California. I mean, you could point to so many different examples. Curiel, guys that aren't from here that see the culture, want to be a part of it, Anthony Iveson, and buy in quickly.
And then you also have guys like Cade Anderson, Jake Brown, Josh Pearson.
There's
Ethan,
so many.
Ethan Fry,
from Louisiana.
And then and then you have that core kind of Louisiana group, and then those guys outside of that come from wherever. See how passionate we are about playing for the Tigers, and I just think that's contagious. I really do.
Yeah, you put all that together, you get a good team that's bought in. It seems like this year's team is super close, and there's just kind of like a collective, bravado about them. Like, they always seem to be joking around. They're in a lighthearted mood, but when it's business, it's business. And, they've won over 40 games this year, so it seems like that recipe works for them.
Yeah, I think the chemistry, too, and that's something we start on early in the fall, is really building that chemistry and that just having a good locker room. You hear people talk about glue guys all the time, having those glue guys with big personalities that can talk to anybody, and it really is contagious. And it trickles down the line, where it's not only the passion you play with, but it's being close even outside of the field. I felt like on that 23 team, even last year's team, you saw us down the stretch kind of turn it on, and going into the end of the year, and that's just kind of a toughness deal. But not only that, it's about caring about the guy that's playing next to you, right? And whether it's hanging out in the locker room or hanging out outside of the field, but I felt like we were always hanging out. We were always together. And then the teams that are truly special, you never want to leave the field.
Yeah.
I found us getting to the field 6 hours early before practice just to hang out, whether it was working out together, going do early hitting together, early defensive work together. And I think the teams that have success down the line, that's kind of the trend I'm seeing is the togetherness and the chemistry that they have.
Seems like that's this year's team. So they've had a lot of success to this point. You hope that continues. Remains to be seen. But, you made it to Omaha. You got an opportunity. And now we'll see what they do with it. Back to you, though. You've been to Omaha. You've played in these kinds of settings before. You ever just kind of sit back and reflect on those days? I'm sure some of the best of your life.
Yeah, that was truly it was a special opportunity and something I still talk about. I still have people, whether I'm at work or hunting across the country, whatever I'm doing, even at family events, some of my family members that were able to make the trip up there, they still talk about it, how special it was, how awesome it was. Just the atmosphere there is awesome, but something that was really cool that I reflect on is I think we were there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you find yourself, you're so locked in to what the end goal is of winning it. But something I was able to do while I was there was kind of take a step back in the moment. I think it was the last game. I took a step back and really kind of looked around the stadium and took in what was going on. And that's something that I think Doug Thompson told me to do. He was like, man, step back, take in everything that's going on because it really is special. And it really is. It's very easy to get motivated up there. And I think something that helps with that is just the fans. Like I was talking about earlier, I don't know what Omaha holds, 23,000, 20,000.
I heard like 27.
27,000.
Yeah, a lot.
Well, it was 27,000. It felt like 25 or 26,000 was LSU fans.
Yeah.
So that was really awesome. And, another thing is something I'm looking forward to. I think there's going to be a moment this year with this team, and there was moments in 23 with our team where somebody's going to step up. And the teams that have success there, you have those big moments and big-time plays from big-time players, and you're also going to have guys that might not have been in the spotlight all year, like a Dalton Beck. You saw him against Tennessee, had a big hit, and I think that was a huge moment in this year's season. But you're going to have a pinch hit or a pitcher come out the bullpen that hasn't been pitching or might not have the most innings, and he's going to have a big-time performance.
Why do you think that happens? Because it literally happens every year, even with LSU. You could point to a lot of guys from your team: Nate Ackenhausen, Thatcher Hurd, Griffin Herring, Josh Pearson's catch out in the outfield was awesome. He had a great postseason. I mean, Pearson and postseason just go together so well. Last year, Will Helmers obviously had that great performance in the elimination game against North Carolina. And then this year, there's been so many different guys. Stephen Milam, both years he's played at LSU, has been big in the postseason. Why do you think just guys kind of randomly show out this time of year?
Yeah, well, there's multiple points to that. I think mentally being prepared, and that's something we talked about a lot going through LSU baseball, and that's something Coach Johnson hits on. It's being ready for the opportunity. And when that opportunity presents yourself, you capitalize on it. But not only that, I think in big-time games like in Omaha or the regional, super regional, whatever, or SEC tournament, there's so much adrenaline that some guys get sped up and some guys are able to slow it down and really kind of harness that adrenaline and use it to their advantage. So I think guys that can slow the game down, and remember, it's the same game that you've been playing, that you've won 35 out of 40 at LSU this year. And I think that's a record this year at home. And being able to take that it's still the same game and play the same game in Omaha.
Yeah, it's difficult, but That's what you need to do. There's just more implications attached to it, I guess, with the pressure and the postseason and stuff. And the best teams, the championship teams, handle that better than others. So it seems like this team has done well with that. You know, when they've needed to do something back against the wall, they've done it, and that'll probably get put to the test again in Omaha. While you're there, what's it like being a player at the College World Series, aside from the fans and all that kind of stuff? Like, what's your schedule and how does it kind of operate?
Yeah, it's a little different, but I think LSU has that advantage of the media, being used to the media. You're going to get interviews. You're going to get asked questions. There's going to be tons of fans there, tons of fans interactions. There's also a lot of distractions. It's easy to get caught up in everything that's going on and forget the goal the goal or the task at hand, what you're there to actually do. And I think that's super important. But as far as the schedule, I think we were there for 2 weeks. Felt like a long time. Felt like we were there for forever. But it can get a little tiring. That's where the toughness comes in. Toughness aspect of it comes in. But it's also very easily to get motivated. And I think that's another thing that we did so well was not relying on outside factors to be motivated. You got to be self-motivated. And you got to love to play the game. So I think that's something, but also embracing each moment and not looking at it as a big-time moment, but just an opportunity. And if you embrace that opportunity, I think LSU's going to be very successful this year.
And they've done that many times, especially with Coach Johnson. It seems like he gets the best out of whatever team he has in the postseason. You know, like he'll squeeze the sponge until there's no more water in it. There's some coaches and programs that are better in the postseason than others. Why do you think this time of year Coach Johnson seems to have a great pulse and gets the best results out of y'all between lineup changes, pulling the right levers in the bullpen, playing the right guys? Like, what changes about him?
I think that just speaks to the preparation that they've put in, whether it's looking at stats, it's doing the scouting reports, it's them putting in the time outside of practice, outside of the games, and going back through and being able to put guys in position to be successful. That's something that this coaching staff has done very well and continues to do very well. They find a way to put guys in position to be successful in the opportunity that they're presented with. Not only that, I think something that Coach does very well is throughout the season we continue training. There's always something to work on and something to get better with or on. And I don't know if every other team, I wasn't a part of any other college program, but I know for us that we continue training. And that's how we looked at practice. It was training. And we looked at failures in the game as an opportunity to get better. But I think aside from that, just the way we approached every game, the way we approached the season as a 60-game playoff, that way every game matters. And no game, whether it's the regional, super regional, SEC tournament, Omaha, it's no bigger than the last game. So I think that's why LSU has so much success in the postseason.
Jay says that every time we have media availability, insert SEC team here. They're an Omaha caliber team, you know. So like LSU Arkansas, that's kind of a national championship matchup, but you're going to see it in the first kind of round here, just because of the way the bracket kind of fell. But you guys are well prepared for that because you're playing national championship level series like basically for 3 months straight or 2 months straight with conference play. So I think preparation is a big part of it. So Omaha 2023, there's a lot of special moments, right? Is there one that sticks out to you the most where it's like that's the first thing you think of when you think of the word Omaha?
I would probably say, I mean, aside from like the dog piling, where at the end you're dog piling and you know you win the last game you've played. That's the ultimate goal at the end of the year. Not just the last game, not making the tournament, but the last game of the year. You're the last team standing out of, 300-something teams across college baseball. And
I don't even know if it's possible to end your season with a win, right? Because everybody would make the conference tournament.
Yeah.
In most of them. So, yeah. There's only one.
Yeah, ending your season with a win and knowing all the work, and it's just the kind of being the satisfaction of knowing all the work you put in, all the training, all the hours, and it paid off. Aside from that, I think just every at-bat, every inning, I remember coming off the field and you're almost out of breath because you're so locked in, and then there's so much adrenaline going on. So every inning, it truly is special being able to play in that environment and that atmosphere and against the best competition. Every team left is a great team, and I think this year's even cooler because there's some teams and some colleges in there that you wouldn't expect, like a Murray State getting in there. And I just saw a deal. Some of us guys were talking about it. Former teammates of mine, we were texting about it. They had a deal come out about Murray State and showing their stadium where it only holds like 800 people, and their coach still cuts the grass. Their head coach is cutting the grass, doing the field work. So that's what's so special about college baseball. And you look at college football or college basketball and all these other sports where NIL has such a huge impact, where you would think it would level the playing field, but it kind of doesn't, just because the funds aren't as high at other programs. Whereas college baseball, you still have the purity of the game where anybody can beat anybody, and that's what's so unique about this year's bracket in Omaha, that you have teams that you don't normally see in it.
That was exactly my point earlier. Is baseball, I think, is still pure college baseball, and it's going to be on display this weekend. So you got your blue bloods in some respects. I don't know if you consider Arkansas a blue blood. Probably. I mean, they've won a lot of games, not national championships, but
in my opinion, just playing in the SEC for so long, Arkansas was one of those programs that I think does such a great job of year in and year out. They have a great team. It never seemed like they have a down year. It really doesn't. And Coach Van Horn does a great job with that staff and his players and having them ready to play every game. And I know they haven't won one yet in the World Series, but you just look at a program like that and they're very, very consistent across all phases of baseball: offense, defense, being prepared to play. Those guys play with a lot of passion. They also have a fan base that I think is very similar to LSU fan base. And the passion for baseball that they have in Arkansas is truly incredible. So I think that first game matchup is going to be awesome, and it's definitely a good opportunity for both programs.
Yeah, might be one of those. Whoever wins that one's going to go on and win the whole thing. You know,
it could be. I think the teams that play consistent and play the same baseball that they've been playing, that's gotten them there, is the team that wins it.
Yeah, and it helps when you stay in the winner's bracket too, right? Because you can kind of keep that depth and keep things on schedule. Y'all kind of had to play basically every game that was possible almost, right?
We did. Yeah. I think, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think 8 games in Omaha.
Yeah, and that's over what, like a week and a half span or so?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we were super bought in. Coach laid out the pitching plan after that first loss to Wake Forest, and he basically showed us how it was going to go. And he was like, "Hey, Nate Ackenhausen's got the ball." We only expected Nate to go maybe 3 to 4 innings, 2 to 3 innings against that Tennessee team. And like I said, you're going to have the teams that win have guys step up and have big-time performances, and that's what we had while we were in Omaha. You had a Nate Ackenhausen stepped up. I think he threw 7 or 8 innings against that Tennessee team and won the game for us and saved the bullpen. And that's something that's super important. The teams that get in that loser's bracket or lose a game and have to come out of the loser's bracket is being able to save the bullpen and have the arms to do it and have guys step up out the bullpen and have big-time performances that they might not have had all the innings that year.
Yeah.
But they've been training, and I trust that Coach Yeski and Coach Johnson have poured everything into each and every guy, not just the guys that you see pitching every day or coming out the bullpen more. they still been working on the guys that might be your 6th or 7th or 8th arm out the bullpen. And I think that's why we had success in 23. And that's one thing I'm looking for is those guys that step up and have the big time performances and the big time moments.
Have seen it a little bit, like Cooper Williams, this freshman they got, the lefty. The most he'd pitched all year was an inning, maybe an inning and a third or so, and he's gone back to back. Definitely 2, maybe 3+ for him out of the bullpen. And I can already kind of see him, if LSU gets in a rough spot, coming out and starting a game. Like Coach Johnson has said, he has starter caliber stuff, and wouldn't be surprised if he was a starter next year. But I can already see him doing something like Atkinghausen did. I don't know if he'll execute as well as he did, but being thrust into the spotlight and having to execute.
Yeah, you can really tell guys like Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson have kind of taken some of those guys under their wing and really mentored them and been leaders on this team for them. And that same thing we had in 23 was guys like Paul Skenes taking a guy like Thatcher Hurd underneath his wing, and then you see a Thatcher Hurd step up. And then, I mean, it was just across the board for us, and I think it's the same thing for this team. And I think they have a real opportunity to go win it this year just because of the talent they have, not only at the top, but through, guys that you haven't seen as much this year. They have those caliber arms that can step up and give you those innings in Omaha.
It's different than a super regional where if you're LSU and you've got 2 aces essentially like they do this year, and they didn't necessarily perform to the best of their ability this past weekend, it didn't matter because the offense was great. You got to have more than just 2 good starting pitchers, and that's why baseball, you'll really determine who the best team is 1 to 27 or whatever the full roster size is. It's not so much you got 1 or 2 good players. You got to have a lot of good players or players that just happen to have a good day.
Yeah, and I think that's why you and Helmers talked about it, and Helmers predicted Ianson coming out the pen.
Yeah.
But that Coach Johnson really plans ahead for that, and that's why I think the SEC tournament is the closest you're going to get to Omaha. I really do. And I think that's why you saw Coach Johnson set up the pitching staff that in that way, in that order, to get guys in front of that environment and pitching against those caliber of teams, because at the end of the day the SEC feels like Omaha, and playing that level of competition in the SEC tournament is very similar to Omaha. But I think that's why you saw him bringing some guys out the pen that you wouldn't normally see and getting them acclimated to that environment and used to pitching in that kind of just, I don't want to say intense moment, but very adrenaline high high adrenaline moments. Because like I said, the adrenaline I think you saw against West Virginia, their starting pitcher, the crowd and the environment, I know he was dealing with a little sickness, but you kind of saw it get to him. You saw it against Arkansas Little Rock, where that atmosphere, you saw pitchers on the mound almost like they couldn't catch their breath.
Yeah.
Which that attests to our fan base. I think they're just as important as anything we do on the field, where they put so much pressure on another team. And the way we travel to Omaha, I look for it to be the same way there.
Yeah, Rocco's will be packed.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
and,
yeah.
I'd imagine for the whole day, certainly for the LSU game, it'll be majority of a swarm of purple and gold, as you mentioned. You saw back in 23. A couple more things just on that run, I want to dive into. That Rhett Lauder, Paul Skenes game. Did you catch that game?
I was catching.
What was that, like 0-0, right, all the way through the 9, and then it goes to extras? And, I mean, have you ever been in a game like that where it's both teams are just zipping through the innings?
Yeah, so we had moments like that in fall baseball. I remember that year where you would have Paul Skenes on one side pitching for one team, and it was like our purple and gold inner squads. Yeah. You'd have Skenes going for one side, and you would have Grant Taylor, who ended up getting hurt that year. He was pitching for the other side, and Grant just got called up to the big leagues. So I remember games like that, but also throughout SEC play, we'd have games that were 1-0 ball games, and it felt just like that game. So we were prepared for the opportunity. And like I said, you have to be able to win the 12-8 ball games, but you also have to be able to win the 1-0 ball game. And I remember that game. That was the fastest game I've ever played in college baseball. It was I know our fans aren't the happiest about it, but we'd play 3.5-hour, 4-hour games with the pitching changes and the matchups and all that stuff. And but that game was super fast. I remember after every innings there was so much focus, and after the game I remember being mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
Not so much physically, but mentally exhausted because the margin of error was so slim. And you had a guy like Trey Morgan make the flip to home plate, which was a huge play, and just Skenes going toe-to-toe with a 1 and 2 pick, I think, in the draft or something like that. Yeah. And I think being able to win in that type of environment, that type of game, and then also being able to win in a slugfest like we had against Florida at times.
That's how baseball is. There's really no game that is the same as the next. There's some kind of differences, and one of them's a shootout, and one of them's a defensive, pitching duel. Were you surprised that Trey flipped you that ball? Did you kind of black out in that moment?
I wouldn't say blacked out. We were ready for it.
You probably practiced that a lot.
Yeah, that was a play we had practiced, and believe it or not, it never worked out in practice. I remember we'd had the infield saver in. Somebody would trip on the infield grass saver. They wouldn't make a good flip, and then it all kind of just pieced together there. We knew it was coming, so Trey was ready for it, made a great read on the ball and a great flip. Mm-hmm. And without a good flip, I'm not able to make a tag on that play. So that was one of those big time plays that happens. And then just like the Josh Pearson play against Florida, saving that if he doesn't catch that. I think he had one against Wake Forest maybe or something like that.
The whole postseason.
Yeah. Postseason Pearson.
Exactly.
That's what it is. So you have guys on that team that were in Omaha and know what it was like, and that's why even that second game where it looked like we got nothing out of it and we got blown out by Florida in game 2, you had guys that are on this team this year that were playing in that game, and coach put them in for that reason, because down the line now they're right back there and they know what it's like to play. Jared Jones, Josh Pearson, Ethan Fry got playing time in that game. So those guys are prepared, and I think they'll be able to lean on some veterans in that locker room, and they'll be able to tell them what it was like and what to expect, and really just slow the game down and embrace the moment. I think that's a big thing. Embrace the opportunity. It's not putting more pressure on yourself, but have fun playing there. It truly is an opportunity like no other, and it's a place like no other, and it's super easy to play there. Well, I say super easy. You're playing great competition, but it's so much fun, and there's so much energy that it's super easy to get motivated for those games.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get motivated for the, what do they call it, the Chief versus Johnson or Jordan scrimmage or something, right? And when is that? November or something like that?
Yeah, we have like the Purple and Gold World Series and Chief, and I mean that's another thing. We have coaches that have great personalities. Chief, Josh Simpson, Coach Yeski. Coach Yeski's been there so many times with Oregon State, and when I was playing, we had Wes Johnson, who had been there with Arkansas a couple times. And you have coaches that are able to relate to players, and our coaches really do a great job of not only being coaches, but like, I don't want to say like a father figure to you, but like there's somebody you can go to and talk to, and they know you on a personal level, and so you get really comfortable with your coaching staff, and they're able to slow the game down for guys and make light of the situation, whether it's joking around with them, talking them through situations. So that's definitely an advantage I think LSU has.
And they really care too. Like I got video from the celebration the other day. Like you got Chief like hugging Milam and like talking into his ear. Probably just some things like, "Oh, see, I told you we could do stuff like that." And Coach Yeski holding Cade like he's his son. You know what I mean? And Coach Johnson doing everybody as well, and Coach Jordan. So there's just an obvious amount of care.
Yeah, and I thought something that's really cool is they after games they'd let our families come onto the field, and the coaches would go out of their way to go talk to your family, your little sister, your little brother, your older brother, and really get to know you on a personal basis, get to know your family. And I think that's something that LSU does so well. You talk about getting the right guys on the bus and in the locker room, and a lot of that comes with being able to know the family, because at the end of the day, our families are at every game, they're at every environment. So you want guys or players that come from great families, and this team's just like any other team that we've had that Coach Johnson's put together, where you have great families that support their sons on the field. And but yeah, I think that's something that's really special too about LSU is the coaches going out of their way to get to know you on a personal level, get to know your families on a personal level, and know your parents by their first name, and your little brother, your little sister, which makes playing here so special. It makes it easy to play behind guys like that and coaches like that.
Yeah, and we do hear that a lot. Like when we're asking about specific players, Coach Johnson has said many times this year, he comes from a great family. He mentions the parents' names. They're great people. They're elite people, dynamic people, and that's why he's the way that he is. And it's true. I mean, I've gotten to meet a couple of the parents throughout the past couple of years. Ethan Fry's parents are awesome. Dad was in the military. Mom is super nice. And him and his sister are super close, you know, and it's just there's a lot of those types of families and bonds on this team, and it produces great human beings, and great human beings means typically success, on and off the field.
Yeah, and I think Coach talks about it. He's a much better person than he is player, and that's hard to do when you're recruiting great players. And that's something Coach looks for when we're recruiting is high character guys that not only are they talented, they have great character, and they're just great human beings. You look at our team like Tommy White coming in that year out the portal, Paul Skenes coming in out the portal, Thatcher Hurd, great people, great families, and guys that I'm super close with, guys that'll be at my wedding in October. So that's something that's truly special, and I think that separates this program from everybody else, and this coaching staff from everybody else, is the way they recruit and what they look for in recruiting.
Might be the key to success right there. So you getting married in October?
I am.
Okay, that's exciting.
Married. Yep.
Sweet. How long has that been in the making?
I think we got engaged the Christmas of my last year. So
23 going into 24?
It had been 23, the Christmas of 23 we got engaged.
Awesome.
So
did y'all meet at school or before?
We actually started dating in high school.
Nice. At Zachary, okay.
Yeah, been together for a long time.
Super cool.
Yeah,
excited?
So super excited. She went through she's a trooper. She went through the gauntlet of college baseball, and it's a grind, so hat tip to her. She supported me in every way, and along with her family and my family, they were at everything. She was at Omaha with her whole family. They came up and watched. So so if you're gonna have a girlfriend, they gotta be all right with you being gone, because we were at the field, I don't know, 8 to 10 hour days. It felt like not just practice, but we were going up there working on our own. Yeah, she was super supportive through that, and she stuck with me through all that, because I know it wasn't easy.
Yeah, it's almost like a job in itself. 8 to 10 hours, I don't know, probably what you do now, in professional life, if not more. But you got to be a student on top of that, right? And things like that, family. So it is difficult, but it seems like y'all are a good pair then. If she's able to get through all that, and everything's good. So the wedding gonna be around here, or are you guys got any special plans? Or
the wedding will be 30 minutes like east of Baton Rouge.
All right.
So it'll be right around here, and looking forward to all the guys coming back in town, and coaches will be there. All former teammates, current guys on this team will be there. So super excited about that and reconnecting with everybody, because at the end of the day, you get so close with everybody, and then some guys are from West Coast, East Coast. Some guys are in pro ball. They go back home. So it'll be awesome to reconnect with that group.
Yeah, exciting. I'm happy for you. Hope you enjoy it.
I appreciate it.
So is your leg okay these days? The one that you hurt in Omaha?
Yeah,
you walked just fine coming in.
Yeah. I've been playing golf. I duck hunt, so I do a lot of walking. I do a lot of hunting and fishing. I'm always active, always outside. But yeah, I made a full recovery, and
obviously you played the 2024 season.
It took some time, and it was frustrating, and it stunk having that. But at the same time, I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise, and trusted God had a plan, and instead of going to pro ball after I broke my leg, got offered a little bit less money because of that, so I had the opportunity to come back home and play my final season at LSU, which I enjoyed. It was the best decision of my life.
That is fascinating. So if you didn't fracture, it was your shin, right?
It was
fibula.
Yeah.
You think you may have gone?
Yeah, I was leaning towards that decision of going and playing, and I still had an opportunity to go, and the obviously slot value went down with that injury, not being able to play, and just recovery and stuff. But I was wanting to go play pro ball, and then I kind of took that. I had that opportunity to take a step back and put everything in perspective and really figure out what I really, really wanted out of baseball, and I knew that if I came back for another season, that the opportunity to go play pro ball would be much slimmer, just because age and everything, but and leverage. But at the end of the day, I didn't dream of playing in the minor leagues or professional baseball. I dreamed of playing at Alex Box and for LSU. So that last year was a tough year, but it was a year I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you guys battled through a lot, and I remember that after that last loss, like Coach Johnson said, that was one of the toughest for him. That, and then losing in the national championship in 2016 when it was Arizona and Coastal, I think. Just the way that y'all bonded together and stuff. But, if you're going to get injured and have something kind of hurt your career, you'd want it to happen in Omaha, right, in the national championship.
Yeah.
And then obviously there was that moment where Paul carried you to the dog pile, right? You've seen pictures of that, I'm sure, in videos and stuff. What was that moment like?
That was awesome, man. And that speaks to the character of Paul Skenes. I don't look at him like this. What he is now, which is the best guy in MLB, which is he's a great pitcher, great pitcher, and I mean a once in a lifetime pitcher. But the character of that guy and just the type of person he is, and just the teammate that he was to other guys, and what he meant to LSU, and how he took care of everybody, that just speaks to the character and the character of that team that year. That's really what it was. It was about picking up the guy next to you and caring about the guy next to you more than you cared about yourself. Mm-hmm. So when they were trying to figure out how to get me onto the dog pile, and you don't want to miss that opportunity of being able to dog pile. You got a guy that's about to sign for $10 million and go in first round pick, first overall pick, and he didn't care. He threw me up on his back, not worried about tripping and falling or breaking something, but I was worried about him breaking something. I was like, oh God, I don't want to be the guy. This guy trips and falls and breaks a collarbone or something, but he didn't care. He told everybody, get back, I'll get him to the dog pile.
Yeah.
So that was awesome.
Well, I mean, every pitcher needs a good catcher, right? So I'd imagine y'all's relationship was pretty strong, and I'm sure your hand took a beating.
Yeah.
To catch him all the time, right?
Yeah, I got beat up a little bit, but
your hand and your whole body.
Yeah, I really enjoyed catching him and having that opportunity to catch him and work with him and learn from him and just be around him every day, and the motivation that guy had and the discipline that he had to be great for that long and sustain it and continue to develop. Most guys that get to that point of where he was wouldn't continue to develop, and it'd be very easy not to be a great teammate, but he was, and he continued being a great teammate, working on that, but also continuing training and developing as a pitcher and a person. So he was awesome at that.
Never stops. I was in there filming a story for the new strength coach. They got Chris Martin there, and he was in there, getting work done and stuff on his own. And I was like, wow, I can't believe he's here, And it seems like his work ethic is elite, and usually that means good things. Good person too. You talk about being a better person off the field than on, and it seems like he fits that mold as well. So as far as your career, I looked at your numbers, and it seemed like your batting average took a massive jump when Coach Johnson and his staff came in. Is there anything you can attribute to that, like your average going up and getting on base? I think 23 was your best season statistically.
Yeah, about like 290, something like that. Yeah, I think they really just slowed the game down, and I think another big thing for me was not trying to do too much. Coach talks about a lot. Trying to do too much is never a plan, and that's what I found myself kind of doing. And they really just slowed the game down for me mentally, not only mentally, but like being able to understand the task at hand, also what we're looking for and how I'm able to do it. On that team, you're super loaded with talent and guys that could crush the baseball. But you also had guys at the bottom of the lineup like myself or Josh Pearson or Jordan Thompson that understood what we needed to do to be successful. Whether that was me, I knew that if guys were on base in front of me, I had to put them in scoring position, move them up to second or move them up to second and third. For guys like Dylan Cruz, Bloso, Dugas come in, and Tommy White drive those guys in. So, they put you in a position to be successful, I would say. And also being able to just truly buy into that plan that they've put out there. And once I bought into that, it took off.
Yeah, well, it certainly did. And then you come back for 24. You guys are preseason number 2. You have the ups, then the downs, and then you're back up again. And you ended the season extremely hot, almost winning in Hoover, and then almost making it out of the Chapel Hill Regional. And was it kind of redeeming in a way to see LSU West Virginia this year, and they got the job done? That could have been y'all last year, maybe.
Yeah,
definitely. Would much rather have done it yourselves, but
yeah, I would say. Yeah, it stunk that we lost that way, but there was a lot of growth that happened that season. Mm-hmm. It'd have been very, very easy to cash it in. I think that season last year shouldn't go unsaid. That you look at the guys having success on this team that were part of that last year, that might not have had success at first or had to go through difficult situations or just failure in general, that had to go through that failure and understand you can't quit. There's no clock in baseball. So I think part of the success this year on this year's team was guys going through the failure last year and then coming out of the failure, getting hot, and understanding that you can't just cash it in. But I know I was exhausted after last year, just pouring everything into the younger guys and just trying to share knowledge with them and just trying to help them grow as not only people but as baseball players. You had guys like me and Hayden Travinsky, Tommy White pouring into those guys every day and trying to help them take that next step. And so it is rewarding seeing them have success this year, and guys that were young last year that might have failed at certain things last year and watching them come through this year. That's is pretty rewarding for me as a older guy that was on that team last year.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt, though, that y'all could have done what this year's team did, had you made it to the Supers and played West Virginia. Because if you got out of Chapel Hill, y'all were the hottest team in the country, I would say, going into the tournament. Could have easily made it to Omaha, had you gotten those last 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, whatever it was out there. It was just funny how it lined up that way.
Yeah.
They beat the national seed again, and then it's LSU West Virginia. Because everybody was picturing that after y'all beat North Carolina and forced that elimination game. So
yeah, it stinks, but at the end of the day, I think last year helped set up this year.
Okay.
In a way that those guys were able, go through that failure and kind of help incoming freshmen share with their share what their experience was like and how to handle those environments and how to handle that failure in the season, because even this year you had a little run where they struggled offensively or off the pitching side of things or defensive side of things, but they relocked back in, and it was the next game, and not just focus on 3 weeks ahead or whatever.
So you mentioned Hayden earlier. You guys did that little podcast together, right, In the Dirt. Was it just 24 that just started like after the 23 season?
Yeah, it was just 24. They wanted us to do it, so we were like, why not?
What'd you think of all that? Did you like it?
Yeah, we enjoyed it. It was a lot. We were kind of slower with school, so we were at the end. We had already graduated school, and we had some time, so we got to do that. We enjoyed it, and we've even talked about doing it again at some point in the future. So maybe we can start that back up.
I think you should. That'd be awesome. Do you do any kind of media stuff now at all around here, or just kind of appearances every now and then?
Yeah, no, I'll do some appearances every now and then, but outside of that, I do a lot of hunting. So I do some social media stuff with that. So
sweet.
That's my passion nowadays.
I love it. So this year's team, Luis Hernandez, their current catcher, he is like yourself, quite a warrior. He's caught like a majority of the games this year. Took a ball off the kneecap, I think, this past game, and walked to first base, stayed in there. Just you catchers are different,
Yeah, that's in my opinion, that's kind of the rock of your defense and your team. I mean, there's no other position on the field where everybody's looking at you at all times when you're on defense. So you have to be a guy back there that's super tough. That's a leader that has big body language, lots of energy. But not only that, just the toughness aspect of it. It's a grind back there. You're catching in the heat, the humidity, and all that stuff. And there can't be any flinch. You can't break at any point in time. When your pitcher's struggling and you're at the end of a 4-game catching set or whatever. You're at the end of that super regional or end of the regional, end of the season, you're beat up, your body's beat up. You just got to push through. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that he's done very well, and just doing a great job of making strikes be strikes and letting balls be balls, and just being a solid catcher back there. I think that's something that's super important. And if you look at teams in postseason, they all have great catchers. I think that's a position that's super important that doesn't get talked about enough, mm-hmm. but he's done a great job this year.
Yeah, I really want to make sure we shine light on that, because it does get, people they talk about the pitcher that had a great performance, and not the catcher that blocked a couple of balls that could have been pass balls or wild pitches and throw out guys at second in your case in some instances. He's a guy that came in from Indiana State. He hit like 20 some odd homers, but he was their DH. So he kind of had to relearn the catcher position when he came to LSU. You probably never had to do that, but how difficult can that be, and how does Coach Jordan make that easier?
Yeah, Coach Jordan's awesome with that. He's got a lot of knowledge that I know he's shared with Luis, but he's also got a great personality. I was with him, spent the most time with him out of any coach on our staff, whether it was in his office going over game plans, how our pitcher, and Coach Yeski as well does a great job with catchers, and having them understand what they need to do and how to position themselves to allow the pitcher to have success. Not only that, but getting to know each pitcher on a personal basis. That's a big emphasis. Knowing their misses, knowing their tendencies, knowing what you have to do to get them relocked back in, whether it was like one or two batters that they were shaky on, relocking them back in, and how to approach each guy differently. But Coach Jordan does a great job with catchers, Coach Yeski as well, and just knowing the importance of that. But they also give you a lot of confidence, and they reward you for your efforts back there, and they don't let that go unnoticed, mm-hmm. which is awesome, because most people, if you don't talk about the catcher, then you're doing a great job.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of deal. But they don't let the success back there go unnoticed.
Yeah.
But they also do a great job of putting you in a position to be successful.
I see Coach Jordan tweeting videos from the game where there was a good frame or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And, you know, he'll say what he says, and he says, "Do it," or
Yeah, and
whatever.
that's something that's awesome about Coach Jordan. He's so passionate about the catching position, but also he knows the catching position.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what it takes. He knows the grind that you're going through on the body. So he helps you out during practice and helps you, just really keep your body healthy. Staying healthy. He does a great job of that, but also teaching you and continuing training as you go, and always, I don't want to say nitpicking, but always coaching the little things. He doesn't just let them go by. He stays on top of you. So that's something that not a lot of coaching staffs or in baseball, you don't find a lot of guys that understand the catching position. Not only do they understand it, they're passionate about it and know how to coach it. And that's something he does a great job of.
Just enhances the teaching even more. So they do have a great staff. Coach Simpson was there in 23, not there last year. I forget where he was. Georgia? Yeah,
Yep.
with Coach Wes Johnson. Then he came back. Coach Wanaka, of course. They got Ben DePolt, former Team of the Years. He's a grad assistant. Champ Artigues is the player personnel director of ops, something like that. He playing an important role there. Jamie Tutko, analytics, right? And I know I'm leaving people out. Isaac Trujillo, the trainer, spoke with him a little bit recently. So top to bottom, great staff. And when you mix that in with good players, you got a good program. So what else do you like about the team?
I would say, not aside from personalities, the fact that they look like they're super close with each other. They're always joking around. That's always a good sign. You always see guys hanging out together, not only on the field, off the field. But I think their ability to block out distractions or noise at times where it's like, man, we can't hit, or we can't pitch, whatever. You know, they haven't listened to the outside noise or distractions, and they've stayed very focused on the task at hand. And they've been able to win baseball games. The pitching staff's picked up the offense at times. The offense has picked up the pitching staff at times. So that's something that's really good to see. And it seems like it's all clicking right now for them. Offensively, defensively, pitching. It seems like they got hot at the right moment, which is really good to see. I think that's the most important thing. The team that wins in Omaha is normally the team that gets hot at the right moment, and they're a dangerous baseball team right now.
And the thing about it is usually the 8 teams that are there are hot at that time, so it's who is the hottest.
Yeah, so it's going to be some good baseball this year. Got Murray State that bangs, Coastal Carolina That's a great team, top to bottom, offensively, defensively. Same thing with Arkansas. So there's going to be some fun matchups this year in Omaha.
Yeah, Coastal went to Auburn and beat them twice, and they swept LSU. A couple months back. I thought that might be the national championship matchup would be Auburn and LSU.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll be Coastal and LSU.
Who knows?
You kind of hinted at this, and we'll wrap up with this. And if there's anything else you want to say, feel free. What will it take to win now that you're there? Well, getting there is a huge accomplishment, but what is it going to take now for them to get these last, what would it be, 5 to 7 wins or so?
Yeah, I think not looking ahead, playing one game at a time, one pitch at a time. Like I said, you're going to have some guys that are going to need to step up and give you a big performance or a big-time hit or a big-time outing on the mound. And I think the teams that do that and keep baseball, not make it bigger than what it is, I think that's the team that's going to have success. But at some point in time, if I'm planning on LSU winning it this year, but that guy that gives you that big time performance. And it won't be just one guy. It might be 2 to 3 guys, but somebody's going to step up and give you a big hit or a big outing on the mound or a big defensive play. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. And that person will become a legend and will not have to buy a beer in Baton Rouge ever again, right? Case and Evans kind of did that a little bit against Little Rock in that Monday matchup, and might have to do it 1 or 2 more times, to fully get there. So, well said. Thank you. You miss playing baseball?
Yeah, I miss it. I certainly do. But also getting to do get to do some things that I haven't been able to do the past 22 years or whatever it's been. So I do miss it. I miss the competing aspect of it, and I miss the just the team aspect of it, being around the guys every day. Certainly different than anything else. You don't have that. You can't find that anywhere else. But definitely miss playing in Alex Fox Stadium in front of the best fans in college baseball. So, but I have enjoyed getting to watch these guys play.
Yeah. And you got your degree in it was construction management, correct?
Yeah, I did business and then construction management.
And now you do sales for a construction company.
Yep.
Explain your role now.
Yeah, so I do construction sales. I work with contractors from residential, civil, industrial. We have state lumber, and then we also have Blanchard's across the river. Also have dumpster roll-offs that I do. So if anybody needs anything, whether you're a contractor, any type of building materials, contracting materials, anything like that, any dumpster roll-offs, and also I got duck hunting trips, so really enjoy that.
Awesome. Yeah, and then a wedding coming up soon.
Yeah, so a wedding, so I've been staying busy.
Yeah. You enjoy what you do working-wise?
Yeah, I love what I do. Keeps me busy, keeps me active, and then outside of that, get to play a little golf, pick that up. So been enjoying that and competing in that.
All you can ask for. Now you got to learn how to skate. Maybe I can help you out with that if you need. You know. So
we don't have much ice down here.
I know. Well, they have one in the River Center. I'm not sure if it's still up because their minor league team season's over. But maybe when they put it back up, could be a good date for you and your soon to be wife.
Yeah, it could be.
A little Friday, Saturday night. Would you go to Omaha if they win a couple games here and whatnot?
I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
I might have to make the trip up there and enjoy it from the other side of the field.
Yeah.
So
contribute to the Jello shot. Right?
Yeah. I might make that trip up there.
Awesome.
I might. It's a cool opportunity. I'd encourage anybody that hadn't been or is on the fence about doing it, go ahead and make that trip because it truly is awesome and special.
There you have it. I mean, Omaha should be using that as like their advertisement every year, from a former player standpoint. So that's great. Well, I'll let you get back to it. Took up enough of your time.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate it. It was good chatting with you. I was only here for the 24 season. I signed my contract to work here right after y'all won the Natty there. But it was a pleasure covering you last year and seeing you guys end the way you did and have the season you did. And awesome to sit down and talk with you.
Yeah, certainly appreciate it and all the work y'all do.
No doubt. We love to do it, man. It's a special program, special place, and all that hard work leads to this, these next 2 weeks. So let's do it. LSU into the College World Series, first game against Arkansas, and no doubt hope to see some of those big-time performances that Alex referenced, and the Tigers hopefully bring back another national championship, which they've done many, many times. Thank you again for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you next time on Game Time with John Eads.